Today we are at Ardclach to learn the history of the Bell Tower and a few other monuments on the old Parish Church, and actually to maybe get a feel of how some Covenanters had to live. Before we head up to Ardclach, we'll just stop at this memorial here to the Reverend Donald Mitchell, the first missionary to India. His grave is in Palampur in India, where he died. Worth mentioning too, the chap was a mere 31 years old when he succumbed to illness. There's an inscription on the side of the building, 1655, and the bell. The bell is not original. The bell is an addition, and it was to serve the old Parish Church, which we'll look at next. Despite it being separate from the church and the church being the whole way down the valley, obviously its point up here is that it could be heard 4 miles. In those days, people were actually prepared to walk miles. This is Ardclach Bell Tower. We're about to enter it and see what is inside. Probably just as well, because there's a few wee flakes of snow falling. It's hard to believe 2 days ago I was wearing a sundress. It does say mind your head. I'm 5'4" only, so mind your head. We're going in. It's just dark. Okay, as we come in, there's a little ducat behind the door. And we shall bring some light into it and show you about it. To be fair, there's not much to see. So we'll do that little bottom room once we get a torch. But for now, we are going to head up these steps on the, I suppose, the top floor. It's snowing.
Fastly.
Fastly snowing?
Snowing fastly.
Okay. The tower house was built by a local laird, Alexander Brodie. He was a Covenanter, and due to his beliefs, he was viewed as a traitor to James I. It meant he was under attack. There were several attacks on his home, one by the Marquis of Montrose on his way to the Battle of Auderne that Montrose won. In July 1654, there was yet another royalist uprising in the Highlands, and Alexander Brodie was feeling nervous, so he built this tower. Downstairs, we'll have a look at once we get the torch. Upstairs here is really a safe bolt hole, and I imagine it would be somewhere where you could view your enemies approaching from any direction. It has a fireplace. It has tiny, tiny square windows that you could put a gun out if required. And it was a place where him and his immediate family could go to safely if things weren't working out so well. The plaque we see here is MGB. That stands for Margaret Grant Brodie, which was Alexander Brodie's second wife. So clearly he had built this structure with her in mind. Things did calm down where attacks on Covenanters were concerned anyway. So Brodie and his family thankfully never had to utilise this for the purpose that they had built it for. It was, like I showed you outside, eventually fitted with the bell for the old parish church, and you can see the ringer in the corner quite clearly. It has, my favourite, a commanding view. You can see the whole way up the valley from here, and I can understand from a defensive, not offensive position how useful this would have been to Mr. Brodie, since obviously he was living in quite a lot of fear at that time. Might be at Ardclach for a while, because as you can see through the grille, it's snowing quite heavily. Martin, in his wisdom, is dressed for Barbados. It's 2 degrees outside. And the snowflakes are humongous. Aye. That crunch is the front door closing over. And again, this is an even lower door than the first one, probably about 2 foot. A very, very low door. It's below my shoulder height, which would make you wonder what was it actually used for. So it's probably 8 foot wide by maybe 5.5 foot. It does have a beautiful arched ceiling, but don't let it confuse you. This was possibly built to be a prison cell. Other suggestions were a very safe bolt hole. Still sitting inside Ardclach Bell Tower because the snow is coming down in lumps. What I would say is, yes, this might have been built for defence, for a possible prison, for a possible bolt hole, but we're sitting here and it is about 2 degrees outside, and it's actually really warm and cosy in here without the fire lit. It's lovely. Yes, the man's an idiot.
Myself in.
We should maybe have a vote how long we're going to leave you standing out in the snow.
I can't get in, it's just down the doorway.
Oh well.
Next to the doorways.
Question? Did we leave here in full sunlight?
You were complaining about the blood boiling in the car.
Oh, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Are you going to wear a coat at the next stop?
Maybe a hat.
One born every minute. Ardclach Old Parish Church had been on the building at risk register. It was renovated in 1892 by Alexander Reid. The last service was held here on the 24th of January 1956. The church became unusable due to 2 floods. The line along the side of the church outer wall indicates how high the water actually rose. Alexander Brodie and Lord Leven had a family gallery at each end of the church. Tradition says that after a particularly bad fallout, Levan built his own church higher up the glen. It is still used today as it was not subjected to the flooding that Brodie's church was. In total, there are 225 grave monuments. It is said to be dedicated to №𝔬𝔲. This really is unlikely because this church was built post-Reformation in 1626, so no saints would have been required. The church has windows which are formed as a cross. Local gossip says the windows were covered until complete, then revealed to the parishioners on Sunday morning. The story goes, though, the local worshippers were horrified at what they perceived as adulterous imagery. Donald Mitchell, who we discussed at the beginning of the video, his father is interred in this churchyard as well. He was the minister for this parish. Local knowledge says that Donald had joined the army but hated it, but stationed in India, he was keen to return there. His father, minister here at Ardclach, paid a considerable amount to release Donald from the army so he could change his career. So that was Ardclach Bell Tower and the Parish Church. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment if you enjoyed the video, as it will help the channel grow. Until next time, thank you for watching.